How have you been holding up without hockey?
Well, we're keeping, I will say, busy around the family. I have two boys, four kids together, a daughter that lives in Boston that's has stayed there, one in Maine. But my wife and our two boys, we're keeping busy around the house here, a couple little projects here and there. But I think, like everybody else, catching up on a lot of reading. And for me, I'm able to quote unquote work remotely as well. I've been able to work, do some video work on my computer and through the internet, pass it on to the players and have a chance to continue to talk about hockey, which is a good thing for them and in all honesty for us coaches as well.
What was your message to the players when you realized? I guess first question would be, when did you realize how serious this was? And then what was your message to the players when you guys kind of dispersed?
Well, it all happened in one time. I'll tell you, we had a kind of an emergency meeting at the airport. We had played two games in a row in Tucson, and as of the next morning, we got off the plane, found out that the season was going to be suspended for an indefinite period of time. The players ended up leaving that day, and literally by the next day, what I will do is I'll give the Anaheim Ducks and San Diego Gulls. Boy, we did I thought a really good job of kind of being ahead of the curve, making sure our players were able to get where they would feel the safest, being around family, being around loved ones, and players dispersed. Some went over to Europe to be with their families, back to Canada or across the United States. So I think we still have about a half dozen players still here in San Diego, and you know what? It's been a little bit frustrating for everybody, and a couple reasons, because we were playing really well when this all did come down, but at the end of it, I think we're all well beyond that in a bigger picture scenario now, and taking care of business, which is our families, and making sure that we follow the guidelines that we're hearing not only from the league but from the federal government as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes with the caveat that sports are obviously put on the back burner a bit compared to the real world situations. But I think a lot of people still like to talk about sports. Have you guys heard anything from the NHL or the AHL about maybe what their process would be moving forward, or is it just a waiting period?
It is a waiting period right now. We're in the process of basically of hurry up and wait. I hate saying that, but I think our self quarantine ends on April 4th. And obviously, the news that came out yesterday that quarantine is going to be extended until the end of the month will change things overall. So what happens every day, an email comes out from the NHL, and we're involved in that. Get that email. We followed a lot of those guidelines. As far as how our season will play out, that is still yet to be determined. But we've sent basically a message. We've had conversations. We've been in touch with our players to stay ready, and we feel that however this plays out, that the team that's best prepared is the team that's going to get off to a great start if and when we do get going again.
Yeah, I know this is, you've only been in San Diego for a shorter period of time, but you get around these fans and you realize how much this city loves the Gulls. And for those people that are the diehard Gulls fans that are really missing it right now, what would be your message to them?
Well, I did a similar meeting on our team website, and I did have a few replies saying, "Quit touching my face." So first of all, make sure you follow the guidelines that everybody is telling us to do. And for me, it was disappointing. I can't tell you, and it's easy to say this now, but boy, were we playing a good brand of hockey right now. We were sharp. We had four lines going. Our goaltending was really solid. I was really excited about this stretch here. Obviously, players that signed, specifically Trevor Zegras out of Boston University, would have had a really good chance, our local fans, to get a look at him. Not sure of how that would have played out, but the players that we had in our lineup, we felt like we could compete with anybody. And the disappointment is certainly felt within our team, by our players, by our coaches, management, but as much so for our fans. We were on a 7-day road trip. We played in San Jose. We were in Tucson for a good stretch. So, you know what, we were really looking forward to getting home and performing in front of our fans. And unfortunately, it didn't work out.
A question I've asked a lot of people I've interviewed in the sports world to this point has been, sports are typically where people turn to when there are crises in the real world. It's a great outlet for people to get lost for 2 or 3 hours. To not have that outlet, especially for sports fans, how difficult has that been for not only you, but you think the sports fans around to not have that medium to turn to?
Well, I think it's really challenging for everybody. I think, there's a lot of commissioners of whatever sport saying, boy, it would be really nice to be playing right now because you really would have a captive audience. But I think we are like everybody else. We understand that there's a much bigger picture going on right now, we need to not only follow the guidelines, but maybe take a bit of a leadership role. And it's been so exciting to see athletes, teams throughout not only our sport, but I think across the major sporting world of landscape, that there's a leadership role, making sure that players are reaching out, having a chance to speak to their fan base, and to understand that we'll all take this in time. And down the line here, we'll get back to the live stuff. Right now, you can catch up on a lot of classic games. I think we end up getting a little transfixed at night watching different games from the Stanley Cup, from Major League Baseball, football, what have you. I think everybody's kind of throwing on the networks. That that nobody's throwing a bad game on right now. If it's going to be a good one. So, we had a good enjoyment because we watched the game the other night, and we weren't sure who had won the game at the time. A lot of times in hockey, we got a pretty good idea how it's going to play out. But other than my son cheating a little bit, I think he was sneaking over on his phone. We had no idea the outcome. It's fun to watch those games.
Yeah, there's been a ton of people kind of reminiscing, and all the ESPNs, everybody playing the old games, which has been great.
Right.
To get where you've gotten in your career, you've obviously faced all kinds of crazy different types of challenges, but I think this is a much different challenge than you've probably ever faced before. Is this one of the hardest things you've ever had to deal with, at least as a coach?
Yes, it is. I think we've been through lockouts before, player stoppages for labor reasons. This is a whole different ball of wax. And I think for me, we felt like it was really important, for one, that we kept our communication open with our players. I had a good conversation with Dallas Eakins last Friday, and he was in the process not only to reaching out to the players on the Ducks, but every player in the organization. And I think our medical staff, every 3 days, we reach out to the players to make sure they're in a good place, not only them, but their families as well. So, right now we're in it's easy to say, uncharted territory. So you really, you just keep the lines of communication open, stay very transparent, and really the only thing the players can do is stay ready. And our strength and conditioning staff has also reached out to the players, got a little feedback on what kind of equipment they may have around the house that they're able to take advantage of. And I'm excited to know that our players are really following that protocol.
You guys, as players and as coaches and as organization, have such a platform, which is one of the great things about sports. You have fans from all around the world that watch you guys. How nice is that platform in a situation like this, where you can help spread a message of trying to help protect people, or trying to keep people smiling, or, to have that platform to help spread a good message?
Well, I think for me, more than anything, it's you're not special. It doesn't mean I can go down to the rink and go for a skate. That's off limits. You have to really abide by the rules, although it's very tempting because, nobody else is around that, hey, you can go for a walk on the beach. Well, you know what? The beaches are closed. So you follow those rules. And again, our quarantine as a league mandate, when this all started, ends April 4th. But by no means that may change daily. So just stay on top of what you can do. Understand that it's challenging times for everybody. And you know what? If somebody catches a hold of this and gets a chance to see you and I having a chat and understanding that we're no different, you're on the news every day. You know, really fortunate, able to work with a bunch of young kids, and it's you know, just plan on taking a leadership role, and part of that is listening to the experts and following the advice that's given.
Awesome. All right, leave me on a positive note. What's something great going on in your world, or with something you've heard lately that's positive?
Oh boy, what are you doing here? I got a dog here. This
Yeah,
guy.
there's a positive note.
Yeah, there he is. So this guy, we are in training mode right now. I have to say, he is, when we describe players, how they play, he's just okay right now is the way I would leave it. So we've got some work to do. You know what, for us, my mother-in-law's in town. I've got some of the boys around. We've been able to kind of get on different video platform. And even though we have daughters that live a couple thousand miles away, I think it's been a chance for everybody to kind of take a breath and to kind of reevaluate things and really realize what's important. I am like everybody else right now, but I also know that I'm really, really fortunate. I got great family around me. I got, you know, I could be doing, this could be going on in, you know, I can't say some of the American League cities because I'll get beat up, and I don't want to beat up on anybody's cities. Let's just say that San Diego's not a bad place that I can sit out in the porch here, read my book. You know, I consider myself a pretty fortunate guy.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty lucky to be quarantined in this city. That's all the questions I had. Is there anything you wanted to add? Anything I maybe forgot to ask you that you wanted to touch on before I let you go here?
No, just a thanks to all our fan base. I think, you know, through social media, they've been able to have communication with our players. I think that's a two-way street, that our players are incredibly grateful that we have such a strong fan base here. We see it when the rink's full, and it's nice to see everybody staying in touch one way or another through the internet, and getting the chance to make sure that everybody's thinking about each other and staying safe.
All right, Coach, thanks so much for this. Really
Awesome.
appreciate your time. Stay healthy out there and stay safe, man.
Hey, great to see you. Okay.
All right, take care.